Schmidt, thank you so much for coming on The Record.
Thank you for having me.
Walk me through how you see AI impacting the world today.
I personally think it's underhyped. I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about it, we're developing a new kind of intelligence that will be under American, Chinese, whatever control, that we can actually exploit to make the world better. Right? This new intelligence will be under our control. That's the important thing, at least for a while.
Tell me this, who's winning this
Well,
AI race?
At the moment, the United States, without question. The US has a deep financial market that allows you to raise literally $1 trillion on a thesis and an idea, which is incredible. You have this massive build out going on, and you have a real potential of solving hard problems. Imagine if one of the companies, ideally Google, with my own bias, but imagine if one of the companies gets to the point where you have a system that can solve the hard problems that humans can't solve. Just imagine the value of that.
Tell me how close China is to overtaking us.
It's not as close as I thought. I went to visit. China does not have the depth of the capital markets. They do have lots of energy, which we don't. They have lots of energy, but they don't have the depth of the capital markets, and they don't have the chips. The capital markets, they haven't figured out a way to make all that money the way the US does. And the chips, they haven't been able to make the chips that the United States and others won't give them. That keeps them behind by a good chunk. China is, however, focusing on exploiting AI in every aspect of its business much better than the United States. So I think the US will win on the intelligence race, but China is likely to win on the deployment race. And that's a problem for America and Europe.
How quickly can they catch up?
It will be hard to get fully caught up until they solve the chip problem. But I think it's fair to say that the two groups are following different strategies. One is to use AI in every business and make them more efficient. China will do that better than the West. The West is trying to build problem solvers, new inventions. Imagine a situation where you're a physicist and you have an AI physicist that just makes you smarter. And then one night you need 1,000 of them, so you say, overnight I need 1,000 physicists while I'm sleeping. You can do that with AI physicists, you can't do that with real physicists.
We've got a lot of companies reporting next week. Are we in the midst of a tech bubble, an AI bubble, if you will?
Well, if this is a bubble, may it continue. In our industry, these phases occur naturally. Remember 2000, Y2K, remember the internet bubble, and so forth. When you look back, they weren't bubbles. They were just overinvestment too early. And then there were companies that went bankrupt and other ones which flourished. The total wealth creation is going to be enormous. I can't predict the winners, nobody can, but this stuff is real. This is not one of those crazy things that we invent to have fun with. This is the development of intelligence that makes drug discovery stronger, new materials, new of everything. Imagine new energy sources. Just think about the economic impact of that.
How best placed is this region, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and others, to take advantage of the AI boom?
Well, both Saudi and UAE have shown real leadership by designing multi-gigawatt data centers working with American partners. The president recently did a set of deals with that regard. The UAE, for example, has a 1 gigawatt data center in development, about to open in Abu Dhabi. There's something analogous here in Saudi. The important thing is that those gigawatts are the size of nuclear power plants. It gives you a sense of how much energy these things are required. This region has an awful lot of power. That power is needed to keep this. What do these data centers need? They don't need humans, they need energy. This area has it.
And is the Trump administration following the right path when we think about the need of these AI centers, data centers for that power? Because they're looking at a lot of areas that raise eyebrows, frankly. In your mind, are they doing this right?
In general, they are. The Trump administration and the recent statement by the president was very consistent with our collective view in the industry that we just need more, right? What I like about what the president did is he said, we, America, are going to win in AI, and this is what it's going to take. And he's taken a position of American dominance. And frankly, Europeans do not have the capital markets and the chips and so forth to do this. It's going to have to come from America. What I like about this region is you have strong partnerships with UAE and Saudi and perhaps Qatar that can do it. You have to have lots of energy and you have lots of cash and you have to build the things. Yeah. And this region builds things.
In your mind, are they going too far when they say that the United Kingdom, for example, can be a center for AI?
Well, Center for AI, they are. Think about DeepMind, headquartered in London, has invented much of reinforcement learning and general intelligence. Award after award after award in science is going to DeepMind, now a subsidiary of Google. I was part of the acquisition of that. I'm very proud of it. So I think Britain has the people. It does not have the energy nor the data centers. They're going to have to train elsewhere. Google is obvious because you can use the whole Google network. Most of the companies that I work with in Europe are actually doing the training in the United States because the energy prices are cheaper. Europe has an energy price problem, and that's going to be an issue.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about Gemini and the fact that there have been so many reports that they make wrong decisions, that they give false information.
I actually don't agree with that.
Why?
If you look at Gemini 2.5 Pro, it has been at the top of the leaderboard, and now it's neck and neck with GPT-5. So it sure looks to me like Google, which invented a lot of this stuff.
So is it misreporting?
I think it's misreporting. It's so easy for each of these models to find things to pick on. But if you look at the adoption rates of OpenAI and Gemini, they are very strong. And Gemini, which doesn't get a lot of press about it, has hundreds of millions of users now as basically a query engine. People say ChatGPT, but then they use Gemini.
Yeah. So is AI existential, if you will, for Google? Because at the end of the day,
Well, of course it is.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, well, does that mean the eyes are going to be on ChatGPT or Gemini, but not on Google search?
Well, but Google search is changing. Again, I don't work at Google anymore, so I can just speak as a user and an investor in Google. But if you look at the snippets, the AI summaries, they are good. So Google has changed search so that they produce these snippets using Gemini. And you can judge yourself, how good are those summaries? I find them excellent.
We talk quite a bit in my industry, in the news and media industry, about the fact that it's dying and that advertisers are going elsewhere. Is this something that Google and other companies should be worried about, simply because the ad revenue isn't going to be there anymore if you're going to a ChatGPT?
Well, remember that the Google's model, I don't want to speak for Google because I'm not there anymore, but I can say again, historically, Google's ad revenue comes from search. AI search is better than non-AI search. Therefore, if the search is better, the ads will be better as well. The next step
But I'm not looking at them as the user.
But you will, because they'll find, Google, I'm sure, is working on that problem. They're clever. It makes perfect sense to have ads as part of those results.
Tell me this, taking a step back, we talked about China, we talked about the United States and the race for AI. What about the impact on everyday people? And we're talking about McKinsey now saying in the 2030s that 1 billion jobs will be lost as a result of AI. What is your biggest concern there?
Those numbers are almost certainly false.
Why?
Because AI increases capacity, if you will. So why would you implement an AI system if you're running a business? If you're a businesswoman, you would do it to make more money. More money creates more wealth in the system. At least in democracies with progressive taxation, that money gets recycled into the entire system. So many people always, there's no question there's job loss, but for every job loss, there's probably more than one job created. Now you sit there and say, how can he say this? Because the system is smart. But the humans get smarter too. Most people make more money when they use AI tools than when they don't. So if you're a smart human, which you and I certainly are, and our audience certainly are, you should use AI every day. Your revenue goes up, it doesn't go down.
So when we talk about these mass job losses, it's not something we're going to see?
No, well, you'll see to be clear, there'll be more jobs created than jobs lost. Now, there are different jobs. So there's no question that there are losers, but there are also winners. In the most brutal examples, the parent might lose their job, but the child becomes a savant, right? Becomes incredible because they can use the tools better. It's imperative that people who are affected by this technology get help to learn the new tools. But you can't sit around and do one job for 50 years anymore. The technology moves too fast. You as an adult have a responsibility to learn how to use this. In your case, I know you use it. I know you've made that transition. I have as well.
Walk me through what governments ought to be doing in preparation for this, because it's coming and coming quickly.
The most important thing that governments can do is make sure that their nations are AI competitive. What that means is First, trying to get the smartest people in the world to come to your country. Second, organizing the universities to produce, because this is a young person's game, the young men and women get it better than the people my age and perhaps your age as well. Think of the 20-somethings. When you watch what they can do with these tools, they're so creative, whether it's media or business or health or so forth. That's how you create wealth. The ultimate wealth of a nation is the capability of its human resource, their ability to innovate, deal with the challenges of life and economy and competition. That's the strongest position. An AI-first strategy for a government says we're going to use AI to provide all of our services, we're going to get our population to do it, we're going to build businesses in that area. You don't have to build foundation models. There won't be that many because they're so expensive. But there's a lag, there's what we call a technology lag, where the technology has been invented and it's not deployed yet. By doing that deployment, each country has an opportunity to create enormous wealth for its citizens, which is what government should be about.
Is the United States getting it right on immigration? Because you said they should be welcoming the smartest people.
Yeah, I disagree with the current anti-immigration focus. For our industry as a whole has for decades said, one of the great gifts of America is its ability to attract worldwide talent who for whatever reason would prefer to be in the United States. We should get them into our PhD programs, get them math and physics degrees, and give them green cards and keep them in the United States. It is insane to take a physicist who's Chinese, train them in America, send them back to China and have them create a quantum company to compete with us, which is what's happening.
So this is something the president's getting wrong.
In my opinion, this policy has been an error for decades. We need as a country to recognize that we are a nation of immigrants, and whether you like normal immigrants or not, the high skills ones. If you look at Silicon Valley, for example, at one point, half of my management team were East Asian, right? India and those kinds of countries, more dark-skinned, if you will, because the people were so smart and they wanted to work and they wanted the scale that they could get in Silicon Valley. More than half of the companies founded in Silicon Valley are founded by immigrants. Sergey Brin, an immigrant from Russia. Can you imagine if his father had not been allowed into the country? Thank God he was allowed as part of a Jewish Russia maneuver.
Walk me through how you see, that's interesting you bring up Russia. In your mind, whether the war ends quickly or we see a longer trajectory, how far has Vladimir Putin set Russia back?
Well, it's obviously a tragedy for the citizens of Russia that the Russian leader decided to engage in an illegal war. And all of these things happened because of his delusional idea that he could take over a democracy next door. My own view is that we should protect young democracies. There's all sorts of complaints about Ukraine. I hear them all day. But the fact of the matter is, if you believe in democracy, which I do and I know you do, democracy is important from a leadership perspective. We need to strengthen it, preserve it. We should not allow a place like Russia invade a democratic country.
When we talk about the future of Russia's economy and the impact that sanctions have had and oil prices where they are today, in your mind, is this a country that is limping along?
Well, the evidence is that because there have been ways around the sanctions, that the average wealthy Russian in the major cities is doing pretty well. The damage appears to be in the rest of the country. But a different way of thinking about Russia is that 40% of its economics are now in the war. So one way to understand it is that they're taking oil and using that to spend money to attack another country. This tells you that there's a limit to deterrence, that oil-rich countries, because oil is so fungible, the deterrence against them doing the kind of terrible things that Russia did is not as strong as it should be. We don't have a good theory of deterrence against that. We in the West need to develop weapon systems that make sure that we can defend democracy.
Is that something you're working on?
I won't talk about what I'm specifically doing, but I can tell you I spent a lot of time in Ukraine trying to advise them on new technology and in particular drones.
Eric, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me on The Record.
As always, Hadley.